Eurasia, the greatest continent in the world, the cradle of a number of civilizations. Across this great continent, there stands a network of routes that connect the East with the West, the ancient Silk Road. Today, China is on track with a new One Belt, One Road initiative, injecting new vitality into the ancient trading route and the maritime Silk Road to bring about shared prosperity. In this edition of Closer to China, we follow the steps of ancient merchants to examine a Silk Road that stretches from far back in history into the future.
Why did President Xi Jinping propose the One Belt, One Road strategic initiative for China? The Silk Road economic belt over land and the 21st century maritime Silk Road over the oceans. Why did he call the Silk Road a foreign policy priority? What relevance today of these ancient trade routes that connected East and West? How does One Belt, One Road help achieve China's economic objectives and diplomatic goals? Grasping China's One Belt, One Road strategy gets us closer to China.
In the 2nd century before the birth of Christ, Eurasian merchants created the world's first trade superhighway, the Silk Road. Caravans of traders and animals transported silks, jewels, and spices across the vast desert in the center of the Eurasian continent and reached the shores of the Mediterranean Sea. At the same time, the maritime Silk Road started from China's southeast coastal regions, crossing a vast expanse of oceans and seas to countries in Southeast Asia, Africa, and Europe. As the world's oldest and most historically important trade route, the Silk Road promoted the exchange of Western and Oriental civilizations, bringing together Chinese, Indian, Persian, Arabian, ancient Greek, and Roman cultures. In September 2013, China revealed its new Silk Road initiative, giving the ancient route a new vitality.
为了使欧亚各国经济联系更加紧密，相互合作更加深入，发展空间更加广阔，我们可以用创新的合作模式，共同建设丝绸之路经济带。这是一项造福沿途各国人民的大事业，以点带面，从线到片，逐步形成区域的大合作。
The new Silk Road economic belt, together with the 21st century maritime Silk Road, constitute the One Belt, One Road, which soon became a hot topic among Asian countries.
在谈到这个重要的战略的时候，我相信这个战略它的关联度、地区性的关联度、全球性的关联度是非常广泛的。因此，在过去的2年里边，自从习近平主席提出一路一带的这个理念之后，国际上的反应总体来说是非常积极的，因为都在探索进入一个新的历史时期，或者叫经济社会发展的新常态的过程当中，地区性的合作能解决什么样的问题。
Zhou Mingwei is the president of the China International Publishing Group and co-host of the International Seminar on the 21st Century Maritime Silk Road Initiative. He believes the One Belt, One Road is a natural result of China's economic development.
For almost 40 years, China's relationship with the world has been increasing and becoming more and more engaged, no doubt about that. But I have a sense that with the One Belt, One Road strategy, there is an inflection point, a significant change where China is going from being largely reactive. When things happen, China has to react, to China taking a more proactive role in deciding what are some of the major concerns of the world and making innovative approaches. Is this observation legitimate? Do you think that's correct? Because if that's so, this is an important historical point in China's re-engagement and in the world.
2000年的时候，我可以肯定的说，没有任何一个算命先生说只要10年时间，中国最大，很少有人。也就是说，包括中国人自己也没预料到，我们能够健康的、稳定的以这种速度发展到这个程度。也就是说，中国近100年来的历史，200年的历史，使得中国始终处于一个经济落后的这个地位，很难想到自己要站到这个位置的时候，自己应该有的在国际社会的这个举动。我非常赞成您刚刚讲的，在国际活动当中，很多的交流交锋当中，中国是有它积极主动的一面，但也有它消极的一面。我们不挑事，不制造问题，不制造麻烦，尽量避免制造麻烦。但麻烦找到我们的时候，当然我们必须要应对。现在的问题是，这个经济规模已经到这个程度，这个经济影响力，中国已经是对超过120个国家是最大的贸易国。对120多个国家来说，是中国是他们的最大贸易国。这种情况下，中国如果不主动的意识、主动的行为，作为这样一个经济大国应该有的责任和应该有的思维的方式和行为的方式，来适应这个经济地位的变化和国际社会对这个期待，那将落后于整个经济的发展速度。
The one belt, one road concept, in my view, is a very open-minded concept that has been introduced by the Chinese leadership, and it shows their broad-mindedness to share the hard-earned fruits of development of China with the other developing countries of the world. And Pakistan, being a developing country, looks forward to benefiting from this initiative in a win-win situation.
Well, One Belt, One Road is a concept which can mean different things to different people. It is a very general concept which is quite useful for Chinese foreign policy, and it will obviously be something that is developed over the next several years. So the whole world and the European Union is watching very closely how it develops.
From emerging powers to expanding partnerships, from fighting poverty to combating climate change, booming economies, war-ravaged nations, and everything in between. We capture the changes affecting the most dynamic and diverse continent on the planet, taking you beyond the headlines to the people and their stories. Asia Today, delivering Asia to the world.
What are core developmental projects of China's One Belt, One Road strategy? What kinds of projects can create mutual benefits among asymmetric countries, especially long-term?
This is Bishkek, the capital of Kyrgyzstan. At the presidential palace, President Almazbek Atambayev is hosting a party for the country's elite. 36-year-old Abakirov, the owner of a high-tech startup company, is invited.
I think the Soviet Union era is the past. We have to build a new economy, so we have to move forward in that direction.
Abakirov's company is one of the few high-tech companies in Kyrgyzstan. He believes technology is the driving force of a country's development. But now, the company is heading downhill. The number of employees has dwindled from more than 30 to only a dozen because Kyrgyzstan has a relatively small consumer market with a population of 5.8 million. Located in a strategically important position, Kyrgyzstan has been under the sphere of influence of many great global powers. One of them is China, which has had an influence on Kyrgyzstan for a long time. It is invested in industries that affect everyday life, such as road construction, and also has a critical impact on trade. Chinese imports are a vital part of the famous Dordoy Bazaar used for re-exporting goods, a market that is now at risk due to Russia's newly established customs union, the Eurasian Economic Union, which Kyrgyzstan is set to join in May. Many business people are critical of the government's decision to join the bloc. They believe aid from China should be favored instead. One example is Emil Umetaliev, the former Minister of Economy, who's currently one of the most prominent business owners in Kyrgyzstan. He says the EEU will harm Kyrgyzstan, while following China is the best way forward.
In the territory of custom union, we lose business climate which can keep investment and talent of entrepreneurship. In China, it's still new growing, and they compete with the world, and they try to receive best models and to implement with the local government. So it's a more positive and more beneficial way for the perspective.
And it's not only business owners. Some officials in the government agree that Chinese investments are better for Kyrgyzstan.
The United States gives a lot of financial aid to Kyrgyzstan. However, they do this through grants and donor money, not investments. Russia, too, is a big investor in the energy sector. However, the most active investor is China. Cooperation with neighboring China is more natural for Kyrgyzstan. There is mutual interest in each other.
Ibrahim Al-Buai Nain is the president of Aramco Asia. Its parent firm, Saudi Aramco, holds 20% of the world's oil reserves.
Now, if you look at the evolution of this relation and where there is some kind of connectivity between this Silk Road initiative and our strategy, I believe this is a very relevant. President Xi said for thousands of years, the spirit embodied by the Silk Road, namely the peace and cooperation, openness and inclusiveness, and mutual learning and benefit, and that has been passed down through the generation. So, in my view, we are become the inheritance of this historical legacy. And it's our obligation to reinstate it. So I think this is a very fundamental and very interesting initiative that is matching what we try to do. We've been here for the last 30, 40 years. Majority of our sales come to this market. So it's a natural market for us. The relation that we build in China and other regions is also complementary. We depend on the Chinese market and other nations in the Northeast Asia. They support us, we support them, we get their goods and services to build our nation and build our companies. But in the same time, we are fueling their economy. So this is where we see the matching between the initiative that President Xi is calling for. It's in line with what we are trying to do.
One of the concerns that some people in China have is that over time, China will be looked upon as an exploiter by taking economic resources and buying raw materials, not just oil, but all natural resources from Africa, many different places, and potentially Central Asia, and sending back to them manufactured products, which would become an analog to what the colonial powers did with an overt colonization. So there are some people in China that are concerned that China not fall into that same trap. Do you think that's a problem?
No, I don't think that is going to be the issue. I think this relation is not started from today. This is a history. And since the early stage of the Silk Road, there is a lot of mutual understanding, mutual benefit, and that is the essence of the entire relation. I don't think, and I don't believe, in my view, that is the idea of seeing China as like the colonization ages where they can to extract the value. Because, you know, if we invested in China and they invested in Saudi Arabia, so we have this collateral relation. Your interest is my interest and your interest is my interest as well.
This view is echoed by experts from China's neighboring countries.
I think a few aspects are relatively positive about this idea. One is economic interdependence, intensifying of the economic interdependence. China had become the largest trading partner for over 128 countries out of 200 countries on this earth. So it is, is a major beneficiary. Of course, the others are also major beneficiaries of involving in transfers of goods and services across the borders. That had relatively reduced conflict overall, if we believe in the economic interdependence theories, which suggest to reduction in conflicts. So that is a positive kind of contribution. The second one is movements of peoples across these places, including in the Silk Road. The last year we heard about 92 million Chinese visited abroad, which is a huge component in the overall, if you leave alone the United States and Europe as the major contributors for tourism, this is another emerging area where you have a huge tourism potential.
In China in general, now China is becoming more and more popular country, partly because it's a natural process, because China is growing and becoming more important for the world, and partly because of the help, let's say, of our Western partners who are moving us, who are doing their best to move us closer to China. And particularly these initiatives, we are very interested in them. Of course, Russia, because it's closer to Central Asia, we are more interested, more practically interested in the belt part of it. Because the belt part, the new Silk Road Belt initiative, according to what I heard about it and what I read, is the main aim is to connect China with Europe through Central Asia, perhaps Afghanistan, and possibly parts of Russian territory. And Russia, of course, is very interested in that. We are cooperating and discussing this initiative within Shanghai Cooperation Organization, which both China and Russia are members, I would say largest members. There are discussions in Russia, also in the Russian government, and not only government, but also the Eurasian Economic Union, which has been formed, just formed last year formally, that both Russia and Central Asian countries, members of this union, they should become a part of this project. They are especially interested in the transport part of it, because all these countries may become transit countries like Russia, Kazakhstan, for example, maybe some others. So this is the main part.
一路一带，特别是海上丝绸之路的这个战略构想，我觉得是解决遇到共同问题、解决面临共同挑战的最好的一种模式。因为它的初衷就是希望能够携起手来，共商共量，通过合作争取一个共赢的结果，而不是通过这个合作更加强化某一部分力量，削弱另一部分力量。它的目标是能够地区的，不是单个国家，甚至不是双边，是多边的合作的共赢。这就是这个构想的深远之处，也是无法回避的一个事实，就是我们遇到的问题，它的相似性、它的共性越来越凸显出来。多大程度能解决这些问题，事实上是取决于国家和国家、地区和地区之间的合作。因此，我想从这个意义上来说，我们有信心，这种模式、这种战略性的构想，不光是对中国简单对中国有益，我觉得对大家都是有益的，对这个地球村是有益的。
The One Belt, One Road has very important influence on Pakistan because Pakistan is one of the key countries of this initiative launched by His Excellency President Xi Jinping of China. And we are part of both segments of the One Belt, One Road. That is the land segment as well as the maritime segment.
The One Belt, One Road project is still very new, so not many people in my country know about it actually. That's why I'm here, for example. We think that there will be some impact. We have seen, for example, that the first freight train with goods went from China all the way to Madrid, to my country, Spain, which is now the longest train journey in the world. So, you know, this is one example of how by more infrastructure, more logistics, Spain and China, which are very far apart, they can come together.
Culture Express. See the world in color.
What is it about China's One Belt, One Road strategy that causes anxiety among some countries? Why do some foreigners start to worry?
Booming trade along the Silk Road created some of the most forward-thinking cosmopolitan and wealthiest cities in the world. There is no better example than Xi'an, which by the 12th century was home to over 1 million people. Today, the city is pushing to make a comeback as a globally recognized metropolitan center. Critics argue that China, like Xi'an, is trying to restore its past glory and extend the sphere of influence.
Well, I was hardly surprised at all. I've long believed that as China grew economically, what it would try to do is extend its influence in the region and outside the region. I believe that as China becomes more powerful, it will try to dominate all of Asia.
John Mearsheimer is an American professor of political science at the University of Chicago. He believes, from a neo-realism point of view, China's rise is bound to change the overall structure of Asian politics.
And with regard to the Silk Road that will be maritime in nature, this is hardly surprising. The Chinese will be interested in controlling their sea lanes of communication. They'll be interested in having a powerful navy that can protect their commerce, just like the United States is. Well, the United States has a deep-seated interest in making sure that China does not dominate Asia, much less dominate the sea lines of communication around the world. So as China rises and it becomes militarily more powerful, it will try to dominate Asia. And as part of that strategy, it will work to push the United States out of Asia, especially out of East Asia.
One can't help but notice that by defining this Asian economic grouping based on the ancient Silk Road, which is very elegant, it certainly excludes the United States, which didn't exist then and excluded by geography. And because of its nature, it really excludes Japan. And even Russia and India, the two big powers in Asia besides China, are peripherally involved. Is this part of China's design to become one of the major powers of the world by defining this, the Silk Road, the One Belt, One Road strategy in terms that makes China its center?
我想这个担忧也是不必要的。为什么呢？就是中国从提出这个“一带一路”这个倡议本身，它是一个开放的，这是“一带一路”的一个特征之一。那么现在美国和日本看上去是被排除在外，实际上我觉得是因为他们不愿意参加。 因为在美国来说，它的重心在亚洲的重心是 TPP， 而它 TPP 呢是美国亚太再平衡的一个很重要的一个组成部分。那么日本已经决定加入 TPP 谈判，他们担心中国成为主导这个地区的一个大国，所以他们反而对这个中国提出的一带一路采取一种抵触的一种立场。一个最典型的就是美国倡导他的盟国不要加入中国所倡导的亚投行 AIIB， 并且他不仅自己不参加，还说服他的盟友，包括韩国、日本、澳大利亚都不要参与。那么从这里头你就可以看出来，不是中国主动的把这些美国、日本排除在外，而他们是认为是不愿意来参与。
Zhou Mingwei believes that given the unprecedented circumstances, it is natural for other world powers to question China's motivations.
当然，有一些国家也会质疑，或者是很自然的问这些原有的发达国家，比如说美国和日本，是不是包含在丝绸之路？这个回答，我觉得是开放式的。从丝绸之路经济带这个本身的定义来说，它是有地理的指向性的。从它本身的含义来说是明确的，丝绸之路是指明确的内陆和海路两条线路，所涉及的国家是有指向性的，但同时它又是一个开放性的，不是排他性的，因为这些国家沿路的这些国家，对这些沿路的50多个国家或者60多不同的计算方式，50-60个国家来说，都同美国和日本有着非常紧密的经济联系，因此这个一路一带的经济合作，无论怎么合作法，都是事实上同美国同他们的关系、日本同他们的关系是有关联的。因此，如果不是说它直接是一路一带的相关国家来说，它至少间接是。
President Xi's One Belt, One Road strategic initiative has 5 principles or links: policy communication, road or logistics connectivity, unimpeded trade, monetary circulation, and understanding between peoples. It stresses economic cooperation in energy, infrastructure, and commerce. Such cooperation is the natural result of China's economic requirements integrated with other countries' developmental needs. Key is Chinese investment, especially in manufacturing, agriculture, petrochemicals, and resources, and in introducing advanced technologies. One Belt, One Road is a grand vision that requires huge investments, and only a partnership between government and business, with the market playing a decisive role, can enable success. How will success of the One Belt, One Road strategy be measured? By bilateral trade, economic integration, infrastructure development, new growth areas, higher employment, enhanced domestic growth, and reduction of risks. It is in China's core interest to secure global peace and stability and to promote global development and prosperity. All are required for China's own continuing development. The One Belt, One Road strategy articulates well with China's overarching policy and exemplifies China's increasing importance on the global stage. The 21st century Silk Road is surely closer to China.